And we're live now.
And we're live.
And we're live. Yeah, so it is 10 p.m. my time. I think this might be the last time I try to do something this late because I'm
Is that
like,
right? Yeah. Are you
estoy
dying?
muerta. But I'm
Oh
gonna, I'm
man.
gonna, I'm an extrovert. I'm gonna get energy from you. So we're
All
gonna
right, let's
talk,
go.
and
Yeah,
you're
no,
gonna
no.
give me
I'm good. I got the coffee right here and stuff. So,
yeah,
so
you're
I'm,
gonna give
I'm,
me
I'm
the
ready to
energy. I
rock.
wouldn't. I'm very sensitive to caffeine, so I have to
Right.
stop drinking
Oh, no, if
caffeine
you
at
were
like
to drink
2.
it, you probably wouldn't. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Be up
won't go to
all
sleep.
night. Excellent. No problem. So then let's just we'll go back and forth, but right now let me introduce you. Right, so we're live right now with Hady Méndez, and Hady. The way that I met you was I saw you on Kevin's standout authors
Yeah, I love
live, right?
Kevin. He's such a
And
great
so
person.
he's such a great guy, and that first time that I saw you and your energy and your talk, I was like, oh my God, I love this woman. I don't know what she writes about, but whatever it is, I want to read it and I just want to learn more about it. So, for those of you who don't know Hady, please, Hady, introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Hady, born and raised in New York City. I'm a Brooklyn girl. I'm Puerto Rican, and I'm the youngest of 4 sisters. So there's yeah, which is plays a role, they have the eldest daughter vibe, the middle people vibe, and then they have the youngest, the baby in the house vibe. I'm the baby in the house. So um I don't think I'm spoiled, but I'm gonna tell you how I think it shows up. One is I do think I speak Spanish the best in my house, and I think it was because I was always with my mother. So
Right.
I feel like I ended up speaking Spanish the best. My Spanish is not that great, but I speak it the best, I think, from the sisters, and I think it's because I was always with mommy watching novelas and Walter
Sure.
Mercado and Sábado Gigante and all the things.
Right.
And and then I think the other way it shows up for me is that I think I always try to, like, do things differently. So, like, I'll give you an example, like, when I went to college, I decided that I was gonna live on campus, and I was the first one to do that in my house. And
Wait, where
so
did you go? Where did you go to school?
I went to Manhattan College in Riverdale in the Bronx.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, very familiar. Okay, yeah.
Yep. So that's why I went and I studied computer information systems,
Right.
and
And they,
that's
they
what
got
and
a
I
great little mixed population of like Dominicans and Puerto Ricans and stuff.
yeah,
Everybody
actually, it's a
is very
Hispanic
diverse up
serving
there.
institution, but it wasn't when I was there, but it is
Oh,
now.
okay.
Yeah, because there
Okay,
are a lot of
gotcha.
Dominicans because it's really close to Washington Heights, so there's a fair amount of Dominicans, there's a lot of Latinos, but, like, I mean, I was part of the minority student union when I was there, and, there was a lot of us. Enough of us, put it that way, but there
Right,
wasn't a
right.
lot of us staying on campus, and they actually ended up the years that I was there, they introduced, scholarship for members of the minority student union so that there could be more people of color living on campus. So that
Got it.
happened when I
Okay.
was there. I don't know if that's still happening, but, a lot 10,000 years ago, they did that. How about
Right.
you? Tell me about you.
I had a very non-traditional college experience, right? I tried to go away to college when I was younger, and because of September 11th, it didn't play out like that, right? So like I went to Bard College in 2001 for about 4 months. And then after September 11th, I was enrolled in the Marines. And after September 11th, I got called out and I had to serve. And
Oh,
then,
damn. Where did you
yeah,
go?
I went everywhere but the war. I was very lucky. So, like, I was like all over the United States, up and down the East Coast. I did a little time out on the West Coast, California. They sent me to Japan one time. So, like, I did everything but the war. And
Wow.
my official job in the Marines, I was a cook. Right. So like I went to cook school and I learned how to cook, like how to operate heavy machinery in the kitchen and things like that. But I also was what we call in the Marines a skater. So like I was always trying to get out of the kitchen because like it's hard work. And I would try to work for the newspaper. So I would take pictures and interview the Marines and stuff. And that's kind of where I developed my craft for writing and photography. And while I was at Bard, also like I was a photo major. So like
Oh, wait
I've
a
always
second. So you're
yeah.
a ph you're a photo guy? You're like a photographer?
Yes.
I didn't know
Yes.
that about you. I'm a amateur street art photographer. So,
Oh wow, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But
I
I'm not
love
like
I
like
I that's
uh-huh.
what I mostly take pictures of is street art.
Yeah, and so but even though, like, whatever, like, I got these degrees in writing and stuff like that, and it's the same thing with my photography, like, I'm self-taught. So everybody always thinks like that I went to school for it because of the quality of my stuff or whatever, but like I learned how to do it on my own. Yeah,
That's amazing.
it's pretty amazing. Yeah, but yeah, and then I ended up getting my degree in writing from NYU by mistake as well. Um,
By
th-
mistake?
yeah, by mistake. Like the only reason that why that happened was like during my last semester, I was taking a class like the history of television, the history of writing for television, and then like I was writing all these stories about my life, and the professor was like, "Wow, these stories are really really good. Like you should try to apply to the graduate program here at Long Island University," and I did. And then the guy who was in charge of the writing program over there was like, "Look, man, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but the program is running out of funding, so don't apply here." And if I was you,
Oh,
I'd apply.
damn.
I would apply to NYU, and I applied to NYU, and I got in it, and I've been writing uh officially since 2020. Right,
And
but uh-huh.
can you confirm for me, you have a book out, right? You wrote a
No,
book
I
already?
don't. I don't. This is why I tell everybody that I'm very weird, right? So
Ah.
I wrote a book, and I've been writing all these articles and essays on Substack and things like, but I'm not traditionally published.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
but you did write a book.
I did write a
Just
book, but it's
just
not
'cause you're
out.
not traditionally published doesn't
Yeah.
mean you didn't
No, no,
write a
I know,
book.
but it's not even self-published, but like it's out. I mean, it's done. It's done. It's about 48,000 words, and I probably want to get it up to
Oh,
maybe,
so it's not published.
exactly. That's all it is. It's not in physical
You
form. It's
wrote a
like it's
book,
living.
you have a manuscript, but it's not published yet.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
so
For some reason,
when
I
I
thought
first
you
did the
were really an
manuscript,
author.
what's that?
I thought you were an author. I thought you wrote a book. I thought I saw that in your, like, bio or something.
Yes. So no, I wrote the book. I'm trying to get it
I see what you're
published.
saying.
I'm
You're finished with the writing.
yes.
You're working on the
I
getting it
have
published.
about I have about 25, 26 rejections
Yes,
sitting. Yeah.
let's talk about that because you really wanna go the traditional publishing route, right? Like, that's what you've been working on for
Yes,
how long now?
that's oh man, for since 2022.
¿Y por qué tú no lo why don't you just publish it yourself? Why don't you just go to a hybrid
Well,
publisher?
I'm starting to get a lot more comfortable with that idea. I didn't want to do it because I thought that because like, oh, I graduated from this prestigious program, and you know,
Mhm,
the alumni that I'm part of, like all these kids that I've graduated with, they all have traditionally published their books and stuff. But I'm not hitting. Right. So like I'm shooting all these queries to these agents and stuff, and all these queries, they're coming back like, oh man, your book sounds great. But you're just not. I don't think I can sell your book right now, or I don't think your book is in season right now. Like, don't stop, or it's subjective, or this or
mhm.
that. And
I'm shocked. I'm
so
shocked
am I. So am I,
with your
because I
writing
think my
skills
book is
that
really good, and I'm not just not tooting my own horn, but also, um, this book game is very much like dating, right? Like it has to be it has to be a
a match.
match. It has to be a
Yep.
match, right? Because like the relationship between a writer and his agent, a book and his publishing house, it has to be very much a relationship, right? It can't be
Mhm,
one sided or
mhm.
something like that. So again, I'm like, at first I was very mad. I'm not mad anymore. I'm not mad anymore. In fact, like I'm trying to be more patient and more grown. And you know what? And I'm telling this to a lot of people. Um, the publishing game is changing, right? I'm working with a couple editors right now, and I'm learning so much from them, and my thing is really taking shape. My manuscript is really taking shape, and I'm really starting to get proud of it. And I think that I'm very close to just saying, you know what? If no one on the executive level sees my vision and feels my vision. I know for a fact that I have enough people on the ground, on the ground level, that can see my vision and have a passion for my style. I know that if I get it out there and push it myself, and then even with the way that social media is set up now, like I think that I can push it out there myself.
Yeah, I'm happy to share, like, what I did, but I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah, please,
Are
please. Yeah, let's
are
let,
you
let's go back and forth. Don't let me
yeah,
talk because I'll talk your ears off.
are you able to share what the book is about? Because 'Cause I'm kinda curious, or is that not,
Yeah,
uh
no, of course. Yeah, so it's
is it a
the
memoir?
memoir is about me.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a
okay.
memoir. It's a memoir. It's like I don't know if we've spoken about, but like so I joined the Marines when I was 18 years old, right? And then I went to college and it didn't work out, and then when I came back I joined the Marines. I'm sorry, I joined the NYPD,
Mhm.
and I was a crooked cop. I was very disenchanted with the job. I was going through a divorce with my wife at the time, and I was doing very bad things. And um, I was weak. One of my partners came up to me and was like, "Hey, man, let's rob this guy." And instead of me being proper and correct and telling him, "Yo, bro, we shouldn't," I was like, "Yo, yeah, let's do it." And we ended up getting caught, and I went to prison for 5 years, and then in prison was where I had this big, like, um academic intellectual revelation. Before prison, not because I didn't know how to read or anything. Like, I've always known how to read, but I've always just been a very I don't want to say HDHD type person, right? Because, like, I don't think I got it, but I'm like squirrel, squirrel. Like, I could never sit down and be with myself and live in the moment, right? And then
Yeah.
I was in solitary confinement for 3.5 years, right? And I always tell people, even though, like, I'm not against prison, right? Like, I'm not anti-police, like, but I'm um but like, solitary confinement is inhumane and it shouldn't be. But for me, it kind of saved my life because, like,
Yeah.
it forced me to sit down and be still, right? And even though it's very inhumane and it's bad and it kills people, it hurts people, right? I'm very lucky that I had a strong familial unit back home, and they sent me books every day, right? And like, so I read all these books every day. I literally, when you're in prison by yourself in a bathroom, because literally that's what it was, right? It was like a
Yeah,
room that was like
como una
six,
litrina.
right, 6 feet by like 6 feet. So I lived so much through these books, right? And and I read fantasy, I read fiction, I read nonfiction. I had all of these subscriptions to, like, the New York Times, right? So, like, GQ magazine, so, like, all of these, and the New Yorker magazine. So all I did was just read and read and read and read, and then,
Yeah.
like, another thing that I did was, like, like, I had my wife, my second wife, Angie, right? So I would write to her. I had all my high school friends. Like, I was very lucky. My friends were Marines. They were writing me, and I was just writing, 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 writing. And then I figured out memoirs, and I started reading all these great memoirs and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm not going to let this break me. I'm going to make the best out of this situation. And when I got out, I said, you know what? I want to go back to school. I want to get my life together. And I ended up getting my bachelor's in sports science. I
Mhm.
ended up getting my back, but and I kind of forgot. I kind of forgot that I wanted to write. But then when I ended up at NYU, I'm like, holy shit, man! My life is turning out exactly how I planned it when I was locked up in solitary
I
confinement.
love that
It's,
for
it's
you.
weird. Yeah, it's weird. Life is funny like that.
Well,
But yeah,
Miguel,
listen, my book. No, it's not real yet. Your book
Yeah,
is real and it's out there and it's doing
yeah.
something. So first of all, I want to say congratulations, right?
Thank you.
And tell me
But I
more
want to say
about your
something.
book.
I want
Uh-huh,
to
yeah,
say
yeah,
something
of
first.
course.
Espérate, espérate,
No, go ahead.
espérate. I want to say something first that I don't know if you know about me. So do you know that I volunteered in a prison for 2 years?
You did. Well, I think we exchanged that on text. Yeah, you,
Okay.
you told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was a missioner overseas and I lived in Cochabamba, Bolivia, and I did prison ministry. So I would go to a women's prison twice a week and I had
Right.
like I like created like a support group for the women and I would go and practice English with them and then there was another missioner there that would cut hair so I would go and I would work in the salon as well. So I was in the prison like 2 or 3 times a week.
Oh
And
wow.
it's funny, but not in a funny way, like a haha way, but it's interesting that you mentioned solitary confinement because they had their version of it. Remember, I was in a developing country, so I'm sure it's not the same as I know it's not the same because I've been in Rosie's women's prison in Rikers Island, and I know that the Rikers Island Rosie's prison for women is very different than where I volunteered in Bolivia. But there was an equivalent. They had solitary confinement in Bolivia too. And since I was a misionera and I was like VIP in that prison.
Sure.
There was a friend of mine, someone I knew that I one of the women that was incarcerated that I knew was in solitary confinement.
Oh wow.
And when I was there, I said I would like to see her. And since I'm a missioner, they, like, gave me
They allowed
permission
you. Yeah, they
to
give you
visit her.
access. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to see her and I prayed with her, she whatever, like, I don't remember anymore, like, the exact scenario, but, like, essentially, I was there to give her a little bit of ánimo, but
Sure.
I made it a point to go visit her when I was there because I realized that I had the privilege. Like they were like, "Oh, you want to go see her?" And I was like, "Yeah, can I?" And they're like, "Yeah, you see, like they thought I was a nun. I think there was a lot of confusion about what I actually was, but whatever.
Right.
They treated me really good in that prison, and they let me go visit her.
That's
And
amazing. That's beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just like you said, it's like a little porta potty. That's the vibe.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was a little room with a little sink, and yeah, they would turn off the lights like after 8 p.m. and then I would lay down on the floor, and with the light that was coming through the door, like I'd be on the floor reading my little Stephen King books and stuff like that.
Bendito.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
That
Yeah,
is
yeah.
wild, man. You
It's wild.
it's amazing. Your story is amazing, and I'm surprised. I'm shocked having read your writing and knowing your story that people aren't jumping all over it.
Yeah, I
But I
know.
do wanna offer I'm shocked, but I'm gonna offer you something because I never tried to get traditionally published. I went straight to hybrid publishing. I was like, "I wanna write a book. This
I
will
have
be
that
published."
vibe from you. I have that. Tú eres una de esas mujeres que yo lo quiero y lo voy a coger y ya.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I was like,
and
"I
that's
don't
what I
have time
loved
for
about you when
traditional
I saw you
publishing."
talking with Kevin. I was like, who is this woman? And I wanna talk with her.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad. I'm happy to hear
Yeah,
that. But yeah, I was like, I don't have time for traditional publishing. I'm just gonna get it done myself. Now that is expensive because you end up paying for it. So I had to pay my editors, I had to pay the publisher, I had to pay my illustrator, I had to pay for everything.
sure,
So
of
nobody
course. Yeah,
nobody paid me. I had to pay plus I paid a book coach too.
right,
So, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars later, I have my book.
right.
But that was
But
what
you worked it and you have control.
100% control.
Right. Yeah.
I wrote
No. So
exactly what I wanted to say.
right.
They're like, "Oh, you're gonna italicize the Spanish?" I'm like, "No, I'm not
Right.
italicizing Spanish. Too bad. If you don't speak Spanish or you don't know what the word is, go look it up." Like,
Right.
I'm not gonna other my own language, and I'm not gonna
Right.
other our own words. Like, I'm like, "No,"
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. No, but also artistic freedom. It's your book. You're gonna do what you want. Right. Yeah. So
yeah,
it's like
even the
yeah.
incluso the cover of my book. So I have the book. I happen to have the book here. So let me grab it real quick. My book, Calladita No More.
Yeah. I love the cover. Yeah.
Thank you. And I worked with an illustrator directly. She's Argentinian. And I worked with her directly to come up with this cover. So I loved her work. I loved her, her vibe, the whole thing. And then I hired her and I was like, "Will you do the cover for my book? Here's what the book is about." But the book wasn't even written, like fully written. It wasn't fully baked yet, but like I gave her the vibe and I told her what I was thinking and then we went through several iterations and that's how we ended up with the cover of the book. And it won an award. So I won two Fireworks
Congratulations.
awards. Yeah, I won one for the cover design and then I won
Right.
another one for like multicultural memoir or something that sounds like that. So
That's amazing.
that's the first set of awards that I won, and I hope that I'm gonna win more. I'm waiting.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
my gosh. So much more. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I applied
So
for several
yeah.
more awards, and I'm waiting to hear back. So I'm very excited
Amazing.
about that.
Amazing. I'm wishing it all for you. Yeah.
Thank
So wait. Let's. Keep talk to
I
me.
want to tell you one more thing because you talked about 100% control. My two editors were Latina. I had a developmental editor. I had my copy editor, my PR coach, my media manager, like anybody, 9 out of 11 of my endorsers were Latina. Like I got as many Latinas as I could involved in the project because my book is for Latinas.
Right.
So that was my default. So wherever I could get a Latina involved in the project, I did. And in the end, 70% of the people involved in the project were Latina, 90% were women. I had one guy who
That's
helped me publish
beautiful. Yeah. You
who
know.
helped me
No.
publish the audiobook, and I love him. He was great.
Right. No. That's great. And you know, like how you said, I mean, like how I said that I right away got those vibes from you, like, esta mujer está en control, right? I love that about you. I love that for you, right? And um, I feel like I'm starting to get to that point where you figured it out, right? And like I said, everything in the game is changing right now, right?
Yeah.
Like before, it was like I'm not gonna just make up some numbers, but I'm sure that someone who, let's say, 10 years ago or whatever, who has been, because it's 2026, right? So that means that I've been thinking about my book and everything, and I have yet to get one hit, right? I think somebody maybe like 10, 15 years ago, if they would have been in the game fighting for 6 years, they were like, you know what? I got this job as a accountant, and I'm just gonna die here in my job as an accountant or whatever, right? But like, it's different. Times is changing every
We
day.
got options.
uh, we have options. We have all these. We have all these tools, right? And like, okay, a door is closing, but you know what? Somebody opened up a window over here. Let me stick my head in there and see what's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm learning, and I think that you are a perfect example of that. And not only did you break through, but you have 100% control, right? And you were able to facilitate who's on your team. You know what? I'm the coach and I want this person here. I want this person. So that's a beautiful thing. And I'm starting to
Yeah.
get to that precipice. And
That's good.
it
And I
feels
think
good.
hybrid publishing is a good like I'm happy that I'm involved in, have a book in the world during a time where there's hybrid publishing because it's not the same as self-publishing. It is literally a hybrid. So it's like it's a firm that does this for a living. They publish books. And it's just that I happen to hire them instead of them, giving me an advance. I'm hiring them and I'm saying, I want to leverage, your expertise and, the people that you have in house to do all these various pieces. So, I ended up hiring my two editors because I wanted guaranteed Latina editors and my publisher could not guarantee me that. And I was like, well, then I will get them myself. So I
Right.
got my two Latina
Look at
editors.
that. Yeah.
And then I said, when it's ready to be proofread, I will bring it to you. And then so they proofread it, they typeset it, they distributed it for me. But I was, that was really important to me. And so it's
Right.
like I guess everybody has like the things that are like important to them in part of, as part of the process. But for me, I was, and it came from a bad experience because I was part of another book project that I did with a bunch of people and I had a editor there who was not a person of color, who ended up giving me some feedback that made me feel really, um, made me feel really bad. They basically
Okay.
were like, "You sound really mad," in what I wrote. They're like, "You sound really mad," and I'm like, okay, yeah, I am really mad. That's why I'm writing about it, you know?
Right.
And I was like, "What is this? Like, why am I getting judged by my own damn editor?" Like, that feedback, the way it was given to me in such a and it just really it was harmful. And so
Sure.
I decided when I was gonna write my own book, I'm like, "I am not gonna go through that experience again. I will not have someone judge how I'm feeling or, try to clean up the things that I say. Like those 2
Right.
things are non-negotiable for me. So that's why I was
Right.
like, I'm getting my Latina editors and I don't wanna know anything else about it. I'll come to you when I'm past that point and my manuscript is complete. And that was why that happened because I had such a bad experience.
Right.
Have you ever thought about publishing your book as part of a you know, I forget what they call them when there's, like, lots of authors together. I call it a book project, but there's other terms for that. Have you ever
No,
tried
I have not. I have not. So what I originally wanted to do, right?
They're called an anthology, by the way. That's the word that I
Yes,
was
exactly. Right. I knew that. I knew that. Yeah. Um, but what I originally wanted to do when I first started my project, I wanted to start a collection of short stories, nonfiction,
Mhm,
right? And it's okay that everything happened the way that it happened, right? Because like everything has led me to where I'm at right now, right?
mhm,
And in hindsight, right, like how I wanted to do it, it was very it was overly ambitious, right? I wanted to do it, but I didn't know how to do it, right? Anyway, and my mentor, my professor was like, no, dude, like nobody cares about that, right? Like he didn't mean it like in a derogatory way or whatever. He's like, what people care about right now is your crime and how you evolved and how you changed and how you learned for it. So I want your memoir to be about your crime, right? But it was like, oh man, like I'm so over that. I don't want to write about it. I don't and
mhm,
that's fine and stuff, but also in hindsight, what it was like, I think that I knew how heavy that was, and I wasn't ready to sit down with it.
mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to sit down with it
you gotta live through it again.
I had to live through it again, right? And then so for 2 years I just put it off. I just put it off. And then in the last semester they was like, dude, in order to graduate, you gotta have a manuscript and your manuscript's gotta be about 25,000 words. And when I tell you that I waited to the last minute to get this thing done, like I swear to God, I waited to the last minute to get this thing done. And I probably in like a 5-day coffee fuel raise, I produced the first version of my manuscript,
Mhm,
and it was born. And then for like a year and a half, I didn't touch it.
mm,
It just sat there, right? And then I finally, but I still kept shooting it out, and it was like, oh, it's too short, it's too short. And then someone suggested that I hire a developmental editor,
mm.
just as you did, and I hired the developmental editor, and um it was so funny because it was like another author who I'm friends with on Substack and stuff. So this was like maybe like about a year ago, whatever. He was like, dude, I want you to meet this girl, whatever, blah, blah. And the girl was like, she was like a yoga instructor and she read my stuff and she was like, your thing is amazing, but I'm about to go on sabbatical. I
Ave
can't
María Purísima.
yeah, she was like, I can't, but I have this friend and he's a martial artist just like you, blah blah. And
Okay.
and and we hit it off and he gave me so much feedback and I grew my memoir from like 25,000 words to 48,000 words to what it's sitting at right now. Right. So it's just like and even still some people are telling me that 48,000 words is kind of short for a memoir. They're
Okay,
like,
I'm gonna tell you something about that. Can I tell
talk
you
to me.
something?
Yeah,
Okay, so,
please.
I would love to introduce you to my publisher. I'm sure you could have a exploratory call with her. But something she has shared with publicly, because she publishes on LinkedIn and, she's a thought leader. She has said in more than one occasion that the trend is for memoirs to be shorter. So my
Right.
memoir was 40,000 words and I'm fine. And I think, quite frankly, people are more likely to finish it. Like for me, everybody that like I talked to, especially early on, they were like, I was just gonna read a chapter. Like I was on the train and I was just gonna read a chapter, and I got home, I finished the book.
Right,
Like, it just was like it was easy enough to read, and I was close to the end. I think a lot of it is how it's set up because I don't like reading long chapters, so my chapters are like I think they're a good pace and
right,
on the shorter side. So it could be like, okay, I sat down for like 20 minutes and I read a chapter, and that's good. Now I feel good that I accomplished that. And
right.
so anyway, long story short is I would
No
not
pun intended.
feel compelled to necessarily make it longer because I don't think that is what the market or the trends are showing that is what people want. People, I think, prefer a shorter book. So your book is probably at a good length right now. Like
I think
something like
so. Yeah.
40,000 for somewhere between 40 and 50,000 words is I think good.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I'm like at 48, but I wouldn't mind. I know for a fact there are some things that I could expand, and 50, 52,000 words. I'm not
You got to
bragging.
say
That's a
something
small
for the
feat
second
for.
book though,
Yeah,
Miguel.
no. Oh yeah, I've lived many lives, many lives. Yeah, I'm
I'm
not.
already thinking about my second book, and
No, yeah,
it's like addictive. Like it's like this
it is.
was like so expensive and so took so much work, and I'm like, when can I do the next book? Like I'm ready to go, but I'm like trying to pace myself.
Wait, okay. So, but let's talk about Calladita no more, right? Like, where was this born from, right? And for that, first of all, that's a great title, right? And I really think in English there's no word for calladita no more, right? So
It's like
tell
silent
us.
no more,
Oh no, no,
quiet
I know,
no more.
I know, but like for the people who don't know, like tell us where this was born from. Tell us how, like, I mean, like, of course, like, you know, we have our things, like I know we know what calladita or like a greñua is or whatever. Like we know all these words, right?
Wait,
Like
where are you from? Because I don't know what that word is. Are you Dominican?
what? You don't know where that word is from? Yes. So
Are you Dominicano?
yes, I was born here. I was
¿En qué
born
parte?
in New York City.
Querucho?
Greñua, like when a girl has an afro, like
I never heard
greñas,
that
yeah.
before.
Oh no, it's like one of the best words. I love that
Yeah,
word.
that is
Yeah,
a nice word. I like
it's a
it.
great word.
Greñua?
Greñua, yeah,
Greñua. Oh,
yeah.
greñua.
It's like
Greñas, a greñua.
greñas. That's right.
I know what greñas are.
Yeah. Oh
But
my God. So I call my
like
daughter
greñas.
that all the time. But tell us where this book Calladita
Okay.
No More was born from, because like the story about um that bad experience that you had with that editor, that was a great story. So and that's such a great title, Calladita No More. Where was that born from?
Yeah, well, it was definitely born from my experience in corporate. So I spent about 25, 30 years in corporate, and I feel like a lot of the time I censored or silenced myself as part of just feeling like I didn't belong, or, people didn't really see me, or they weren't making space for me. And, I didn't get like, this is factual information. So it's known that a lot of people of color get a lot of like vague feedback and not really, helpful feedback in order to advance. And so I was one of those people who was told, you're doing great, like keep doing what you're doing, but I would never get promoted. And it's like, well, either I'm doing a great job and I'm going to get promoted because I'm doing such a great job, or there's room for improvement. So tell me what it is that I need to improve. But I think some people, they get uncomfortable with that. And if they want to tell you, oh, like, you're not polished enough, or you're not, maybe, you're sticking, you're different in some way. And obviously I am different in some way because I have like really different lived experience than a lot of people in corporate America. Like I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up in like low income, I'm not the children of necessarily immigrants per se, but my parents were born in Puerto Rico. So, they were Spanish speaking. Neither of them went to college. My mother didn't have a profession. My dad was an entrepreneur himself. So, yeah, my experience was really different. And I feel like, I didn't always get the feedback and the coaching that I needed. And,
Right.
sometimes it was because people weren't interested, they weren't invested in me because I didn't go to the same school as them, or because I didn't remind them of themselves, or, whatever the reason was. In any case, I didn't have like a really good experience, at least in the early part of my career. And things didn't really change until I changed and I decided to show up differently for myself and advocate for myself more. So that's where the calladita no more comes from. But to your point, it is a direct response to the refrán, calladita te ves más bonita,
Right.
which,
Wow. Yes, I know that refrán. Yeah, of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
so everybody knows that refrán. That refrán is gendered, and it's gendered female.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you look prettier when you're quiet, and it's
Sure.
directed at women and girls. And
Right.
so that's, I use refranes in my book. Most of the refranes that I use are like really fun refranes, but that's one refran. I love refranes, but that's one refran I don't like. So it's
Right.
it's interesting because I do use refranes in the book, but that one was the one that I was like, oh hell no, you're not gonna silence me. I'm not gonna be
Yeah, yeah.
quiet. I'm
No,
gonna
and
speak up
that's
for
great
myself.
that you said like how it's also a gender refrán, because like, growing up, I'm the oldest of five, right? Four boys and one girl. The girl being the baby, right? But también being a Dominican man, right? And like and the same thing, like I had I have eight uncles, right? So it's like los hombres no están callados, like los hombres hacen bulla, so it's like it's crazy that like, and I love that title Calladita No More is true because it's like the same way that you tell los muchachos, los hombres, like, yo, you got to make noise, right, in order to change things. It's the same thing for women. It's different too now because like, I have my 10-year-old and my 8-year-old. My 10-year-old, she's crazy. Like I have like they're
In
so
what ways?
different.
You mean like
Oh,
she
I like
puts herself out there, like
oh yeah. Oh
she
my
looks
gosh.
she's cute too. I love her curls.
She's tough. Oh my god. Yeah, yeah. Like and
She ain't
I'm
gonna let nobody
no,
silence her.
never, never. She's the boss. Yeah, she's the
Yeah,
boss of the
that's
house. Yeah,
amazing, and
it's yeah.
that I'm hopeful because um my hope is that the next generation of leaders and people that are coming into the workplace or into whatever place that are just kind of growing into adulthood. I want those people to advocate for themselves by default because I
Right,
think for many of us it was something we had to learn on the go. We had to learn like shit ain't gonna happen. People can't read my mind.
right.
I better speak up and
Sure.
say
Yeah.
what I want. And
On the go through trial and error. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Through
and I feel like
bad experiences. Yeah.
yeah, and I feel
Yeah.
like the next generation, my hope is that they don't have to go through that. They just like it's natural. It's like by default they will do that. And I
Right,
that that's what I want for them because um you don't I really didn't learn to speak up for myself until I was like probably in my 30s or 40s. And yes, so
right,
that's some sad shit because I had like a good 20 years into my career before I was really, speaking up and taking up space. And we should be taking
gotcha.
up space out of the gate.
Yeah, no, no, definitely, definitely. So, okay, let's first of all, I love how this is how we're flowing. I love it. I can listen to you talk all day. But where when did the writing start, right? So like and when did you have this when did you have this idea? You know what? I'm gonna put my ideas down onto paper. I'm gonna turn it into a book and I need to get it out there.
Yeah, so that's actually not how it happened for me. I mentioned that I was part of that like consortium of authors that got together and wrote that book.
Right.
And so that happened in the spring of 2024 and I contributed one chapter.
Oh wow.
And my
Okay, yeah.
chapter was called That Time I Ugly Cried, and I talked about an experience that I had in the workplace.
Right.
And I think my desire to write the book was born from there because I was
Oh
like, "That was
wow.
cool." Like, I loved writing it. That was really
Yeah.
fun. And, like, I'm glad I got to tell my story, and I felt, like, very emboldened. Like, I'm like, "Oh, I should tell other stories of things that happened to me. Like, this is cool, and this is relatable, and this is stuff that maybe people are gonna feel seen when I do this," you know? So, are you familiar with Minda Harts? She wrote the book, The Memo.
No. So, I'll write that down. What is Amanda Hart's?
Minda,
Mm,
Minda Harts,
okay.
and she wrote a book
Amanda.
called The Memo. She wrote this book probably it was pre-COVID, so let's say 2018, 2019, And it was a book about her experience in corporate America. She's a Black woman. And
Right.
that was like that book made me feel seen. Like, I was like, "Oh, shit, like, I can't believe that there's other people that this is happening to as well." Like, she
Right.
told story after story of her experiences, of things that happen, of her relationship with her colleagues, her relationship with her manager, things that happen at the company. There was just, like, these things that were very unfair and, like, just more than a coincidence 'cause, things kinda kept happening. Um, anyway, I loved her book. She wrote another book, follow-up to it called Right Within. So if you're interested, that's like the
Yeah.
the next book, and it was all about her healing. And I think those books really inspired me because I was like, wow, she wrote it for women of color, but she told it from the lens of a Black woman. And I'm like, what if I did a book like that, but from the lens of a Latina woman? That would be
Right.
kind of
That's
cool.
amazing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
That's what I love about the power of nonfiction writing. Is like we um as people, we have all these experiences, right? And then a lot of times we think that these experiences are a very individual thing,
yep,
right? And then you have authors such as Menda, such as yourself, you're putting your experiences and you're like, oh my God, wait, the same thing is happening to me.
exactly.
And it just shows how similar we all are as people.
Yep.
And so that's beautiful how you're explaining that. Yeah.
Well, and it makes people feel less alone. As an
Right.
example,
Right. Yeah.
I started the book with a story about how when I was a consultant, I was working on the weekend and I was trying to get the key to a room, like an office space that we were using. And when I went to the security guard and asked if I could get the key, he asked me if I was there to clean it. And
Wow.
I and that was like a very important, like a moment that I never forgot how I felt in that moment. And I cannot tell you the amount of people who told me since then that people thought they were the cleaning lady, that they were the secretary. I had a guy friend who read the book, and he told me when I read it, I had to put it down because he's an attorney, and he was telling he the way he described it to me is that when he started at this law firm, it was the first day for the attorneys, and it was the first day for I don't remember, but it was like the help desk people.
Sure.
And
Sure.
when he showed up, he was like, "Oh, it's my first day." And they're like, "Oh, go that way." And they sent him to the other
So
place,
the
and he was an attorney. And
right.
so when he read what I wrote, he was like, I had to put the book down because
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
it reminded me of what happened to
Yeah,
me.
no, sure. He felt seen. He felt validated. That's important
Yeah,
stuff. And heavy stuff. Heavy
yeah.
stuff. Sometimes you have to step back from from reading because like you're also reliving, even though
Yeah, it's
even though
it's
yeah,
triggering the
it's
memory.
right. Yeah, no, it's but that's also great. You're doing important work by putting your hey, listen, we're all going through the same thing. We're all in this together. That's crazy. Yeah. So wait. So you've done all these things, and so you wear all these hats, right? So like you're a writer. You were telling me about your experiences as a missionary in the prison setting, right? But I also know that you have your own speaking company. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I did that before I wrote the book,
Okay.
but I think now with the book, it gives me a lot more material to work from. Like now I have like this is what I talk about, and I talk about self-advocacy, and it's in the context of the workplace, but I'm gonna like in my mind, if you learn how to advocate for yourself at work, then you end up learning how to advocate for yourself full stop, because then you can use the same skill at home with your children, with your parents, with your
Sure.
spouse, with your siblings, with whomever you want to do. Like once you know like where your boundaries are, and I talk a lot about boundaries. There's a whole chapter dedicated.
Oh no.
And the refrán that I use there is "Santo que no me quiere con no rezarle basta." And I talk about like, boundaries at work. Maybe that comes easier to you than setting a boundary with mommy and papi.
Sure. Sure.
But
Yeah.
you need to the, the boundaries are the boundaries, and you need to learn, how to advocate for yourself in all settings. And so like I'm part of my goal is to make sure that This is giving people tools that they can use not only at work, but in life. And so that's what I speak about. And I speak a lot to ERGs, but I speak also very broadly to employees at large, because advocacy is something that a lot of people struggle with. Like,
Right.
you'd be surprised who has trouble advocating. I actually, it's funny, but I did a talk at an in-person talk at a company, and I had like this young guy come to me, and he was like, "Hey, I liked what you were saying. I don't identify as a person of color, but like as a young person, he's like probably a Gen Z guy." He was like, "What you said really struck me because I feel like I've been silencing myself because I don't feel."
Right.
He didn't feel like he was worthy. He didn't feel like he could have a point of view. He felt like he should listen to everybody else. And what I say is like, "Hey, contribute. If you feel like you have something to say it. If you have a question, ask the question. If you think that you can, like you want to challenge somebody and be like, well, tell me more about that assumption that you're making. I think you should say it. And obviously not everybody works in a place where they're safe to do so. Like psychological safety is not necessarily, something that we could take for granted, but it is, it's a good muscle and skill to develop. And I think once you do, you can use it anywhere in life and you're always going to
Yeah.
be able to fall back
Yeah.
on it. I want to ask you something. I know you've been asking me a lot of questions. Can I ask you something real
Yeah,
quick?
of course, please. Yeah, I love it. Come on.
I want to talk, if we can, because I know we're about 46 minutes in and I want to make sure I get to this. So if we can talk a little bit about your latest essay. I don't know if everybody read it. If you haven't, I strongly urge you to read it because it
Which
was
which one? Because
the
I
one
kind of dropped two on the same day.
the one you sent me that you wrote in the second person.
Oh, the one about how to survive prison.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, we can most definitely talk about that. Yeah,
Let's talk
yeah.
about it because there were a lot of comments. I knew I loved it. When I read it, I was like, this shit is fire. And I sent it to like a friend of mine, and she's a teacher and she loved it. And um, so I knew w- it really like struck me. Like I really enjoyed it. But
Right.
I couldn't name why. And then I saw that a lot of people were writing in your comments, "Oh, you wrote it in the second person and it was really cool." And I don't of course I could Google it, but I figure like we could all get an education. What is the second person and why did you choose to write it in the second person? Like what
Oh,
is that and why
okay.
did you
So
write
this
it that
is
way?
okay. This is a funny thing, right? So like, I am totally not um a second person writer. I'm not even a third person writer,
But
right?
okay,
So
but
so
you're
like
gonna tell
so
us what it is though, right?
yeah, yeah, I'm gonna tell you
Okay.
what it is. Yeah. So it's like, but this is the funniest thing, right? It's like because like I don't have an education. And even though like I have a MFA in creative writing and everything, I was like, I do not have a education in writing. Like people ask me like, how do I know how to write? And I tell people the way
And the
that I
rest
know,
of us,
huh?
I was like, you're more educated than the rest of us if you have an
Yeah,
MFA.
it's like I say, it's like I'm self taught, like, and I'm very much a copycat, right?
Okay.
I like to emulate other writers and their writing style and stuff. And that's the same way that I learned how to box. Everything that I know how to do,
Okay.
I modeled myself other people, right?
Okay.
And what happened was, right? In fact, this essay was kind of hard for me to write because growing up as a teenager, right, and even in college, like in English 101, you're always taught never write in the second person. It's ugly, right? It's ugly, it's confusing. So like writing in the second person is was like, you know, um, you wake up, you put on your shoes, you put on your pants, you go use the bathroom, you make your coffee, you. So that's the second person, right? So
Oh,
like
okay. That's
right
what makes it a second person is using that.
using the word you, the pronoun you, right? So like um so writing in the first person is a memoir, like I this,
I
I did that, right? And then writing in the third person is like, let's say,
see.
right, she or
We,
Bobby,
they.
Bobby opened up the door, Bobby went to go talk to
Okay.
Chris, blah, blah, blah. So
Okay,
but
that's cool. That's really helpful. Thank you for that.
got you. But then let me tell you how, so I have my professor at school. So I'm at Manhattanville University upstate, and then my professor Nina Sharma, right? she has this thing that we call like the new shit cafe at the end of every class, right? And she gives us writing
You're still
assignments.
in school right now?
I'm doing my second master's right now
And what
because
is
I'm
it what is your second master's in?
in screenwriting.
Oh, okay, cool. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So I'm turning my memoir right now into a movie.
Anda para casino.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, this play came, I mean, this essay came from an exercise that we did in class, right? And like, okay, guys, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to to come up with something, and 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you write and you write. And then we were reading this uh essay from, I believe the author's name is Lori Moore, and her essay's called "How to Become a Writer," right? And then the writer, her essay starts with like, you know, the way that you become a writer is that first you fail and you do this, blah blah blah, and then you do this, and then you do that, and but then you end up going crazy, and then you end up taking a writing class, and then you find out, blah blah. And I was like, oh my god, I'm going to do how to survive prison, right?
Wow.
And so, all right, the first thing that you do is you get to prison, right? Then the second thing that you do is you get off the bus and blah blah blah. And the first thing, and I remember like the first day that I got to prison, I saw a Nazi, a blood, and a crip playing chess, and I was just like, oh my god, this image is gonna stay with me forever,
And it
right?
did.
And
And
and,
it
and,
has.
and it did, and so then that was where that's what where that essay was born from, right? But I only did it for like 5 or 10 minutes, right? And then I left, and then a week went by, and then something else happened, and I remember something about prison. And I was like, holy! And then I just started writing, blah, 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 and then I worked on it for like 3 or 4 days, and then I was just like, okay, I'm ready to put it into,
It was
yeah,
dope. It was
yeah. Thank
so
you,
good.
yeah, thank you. And then and now it's up, yeah. So that's how that writing, that essay came from an exercise in school.
I want you to know that if I was a publisher, I would
Yes.
I would sign you up, sign you on just from that essay alone of how good
Yeah,
that
thank
essay was.
you, thank you. Yeah,
It was
it's
it
coming, it's coming. Yeah, I think that um, I also did not want to go back to school and do another master's and stuff. But I feel like, remember like how I said like that I'm self educated and stuff, like, and I'm very hard headed. It's not that it's not that I'm dumb, but it's just like I don't learn in the same way that other people learn, and
yeah.
it takes me a couple extra tries for me to learn things. So that's why I'm back. Even though I graduated from like one of the top programs in the United States or whatever, I feel like I didn't learn what I was supposed to learn. So that's why I'm back in school
I
and
see.
trying to catch up on things that I should have learned the first time. And even still, like at my first program, there's 100 million things that I should have learned in undergrad, but I didn't.
Yeah. Can I say something about that too
Yeah, please.
that I'm thinking of? 'Cause I've said this before, and it's not meant to be, like, for me to be hard on myself or fishing for compliments or anything like that, but I would say that I don't think I'm, like, an amazing writer because I'm not trained either. That was eso no tenía que ver nada with the book. I wrote the book because I had something to say, and I
Right.
said, "And I'm gonna get it out there because I feel like the world needs to hear it." And so, anyway, I'm just offering that because if I had, like, judged, like, "Hey, is this, like, worth it, or did I write it well?" I have no idea if I did or I didn't. I actually wrote it how I talk, so imagínate. Do you
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah.
this is the way I talk? That's how I wrote the book.
Yeah, no, I get it, and that's why I understand you. This is the most beautiful thing about you, right? Like that you are by advocating for yourself so strongly and so beautifully, right? And with you, I feel that your vibes are very genuine, very true, right? But by advocating for yourself, you're advocating for others so strongly, right? Like how how the young gentleman who's like, oh, I'm not the, but I'm younger, like I'm not a person of color, but like without knowing, or maybe you did know whatever, but you were advocating strongly for him, right? Like
I was
that's a
surprised,
beautiful
to be
thing,
honest
yeah,
with you. I was surprised
right,
at that feedback. Like, I didn't think that a person that, that demographic was gonna connect with my message, and I was
right,
really surprised. So, but it shows the strength and the power of, like, how universal the message actually is.
right,
So when
yeah,
people tell me is like, "Oh, you're here to talk to the Latino employee community or to the Latino," I'm like, "No, I'm here to talk to everybody. I think everybody could learn something from my
sure,
experience."
sure,
Because like you said, there is so much common thread among us, but I'm gonna tell it from the lens of myself, my experience, which is as a Latina, but
right.
I do
Which is
think
the
it is
only lens you
relatable.
know. Which is the only lens you
Yeah,
know. Like that's yeah,
keeping it real.
right, no doubt. So, all right, how has writing, right? Like, how has this journey changed your outlook on life and like made you plan your next move? And I know you were touching on it briefly because you were talking about like you're so down, you're so ready to tackle this next book.
Yeah, I do wanna write the next book. I'm very excited about that, but I'm also learning what it takes to get a book out into the world, because
Right,
it's not just writing the book, you gotta get it in everybody's hands, and
right,
that is a lot of work, and if, you don't have, like, a big publisher behind you, it's probably even more work. So,
right,
I had to fund all of that myself, and I've had to basically do all of that myself,
right.
and I'm finding different ways to bring the book into the conversation. So,
Got you, got you.
it's through my talks, through my content. I'm I write on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I also have a show on LinkedIn called Authors Unplugged. So I interview
Oh my God,
authors
yeah,
there, and that's been really fun and cool. And every time I bring an author on, I get to talk about my book too, because we're just
right,
talking
of
about like the
course,
author
yeah,
experience and what it's like, and the book, and what made you write it, and what do you want your readers to feel, and so it's a conversation. So I get to talk about my book in that setting too. And then, like author events, like I'm gonna be in Brooklyn for anybody who lives in New York. I'm gonna be in
yeah,
Brooklyn in March 21st at Café con Libros. And then I have an author event in April out here in Madrid, which is where I live now.
right.
So there's an English
Yeah, I'm
like
following your journey. I saw your little dancing in the apartment. That was so
yeah, yeah.
cool. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's been good. And I will say that it's still like I say, I'm an author. I am a published author like 3 times now, 3 times over, because I published my first book when I was in junior high s like, yeah, I think I was in high school.
Right,
I did a Spanglish book called, Mi Primera Aventura, My First Adventure, and it was with, like, a Cuban author. He came to my local library in Queens, and there was, like, I don't know, it was an after-school program, there was, like, 10 kids, and we wrote a book together. So I still
wow,
have a copy of that book, and it was mostly, like, poems and short stories. So,
right.
I was, like, young, and then I did the
But
thing.
it counts. It's out there. It's
Yeah,
in
I
the
was a
world.
published author from Desde Cuando, and
Right.
then I did the thing in 2024 with my coach
With the
and
cohort, yeah.
her
Oh no, yeah.
yeah, and then now this one
It's
on my
that
own.
the essay, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so, it's still kinda weird for me because I don't really identify that much with being a writer. I'm much more of a speaker, and I'm very curious. I'm like the Oprah my sister's like, "You're Oprah Winfrey, or you're like Cristina, you're tan entrometida and tan curious."
Throwback, Christina.
Yeah, but I will say this though, I've been writing more. I have been writing more since I published the book. So I
Okay.
have been writing more
So
essays and
wow,
things.
that was my next question. And I love this question, right? How has writing Calladito No More changed your perception of writing? Because I think a lot of people um think of writing, I mean, and it is, right? But like I think that for me, because of my background in boxing and running and biking and swimming, like these very solitary sports, right? Um People think of writing like as this glamorous thing, right? But like you having gone through it, writing is a very lonely sport, right?
Mhm.
And not to sound corny or whatever, or like a meme or whatever, but like everybody wants to write a book until it's time to write a book.
Yeah, it is
right?
it takes a lot of discipline, I would say.
Right.
So and
So
I'm
how has
100.
your whole attitude, everything changed after finally completing a real book?
Yeah, I would say 2 things. So directly about the book and the writing process, I would say most it requires a lot of discipline. And I know you mentioned earlier about like, hey, like what made you write your stories? And I never got back to the part where I actually had a book coach and I started it was a 6-month program. And for the first like 2 months, you're not even writing. The first 2 months, you're only ideating and like, what do you want to write about? What are you known for in the world? What is it that is in your heart? What is the message you want to get across? So it's like a lot of like, you know, maybe journaling at the most, where you're just like kind of like thinking through, and then a lot of it was like post-its and like organizing your ideas, and there was really no writing for like a while because
Right.
the first thing we did was put together a book concept, which was all about like who's the book for, what's the message, what are you including, what are you excluding, what do you want your readers to feel, and things like that. So it was just like a very interesting process, which I was like very open to, but it was like methodical. It was like,
Right.
here's a lesson, go do the homework related to the
Yeah,
lesson. So
purpose and intent. Yeah.
I could do that. And then it was like, then you got to block out time. And I was like, I could do that. So I blocked out like for 6 months. I blocked out my mornings for 6 months. I didn't end up needing the 6 months. I probably wrote it like 4 months or something. But like it was a lot of it was discipline. And it was also like just being in the zone. And I know that, there's such a thing as writer's block, and sometimes you can't like get the vuelta, like you're like, I don't know what to write. I'm looking at a blank piece of paper.
Sure.
I never
Sure.
had that experience, knock on wood. I was because I had wrote the outline, I wrote my book concept, I knew what every chapter was about. I just started writing and I just would go into it. So anyway, everybody's different, but that was my experience, and I didn't have any real experience writing before that. But like I was able to do it because my book coach gave us a very solid
It's
like
beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
approach and method to do it.
So what advice would you give to someone who's like starting out and they have this book, this idea, this ruminating thing inside, but don't know how to get it out?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend, if you are not someone who's trained in this, or like naturally, you know, have an idea of how to put a book together, because that's not. I don't think the average person would know how to do that. I certainly didn't, and there was no way I could write a book if I didn't have a book coach. And I
Right.
liked the program that I was in because it was a 6-month program, so it was very gradual. It wasn't like de cantazo, it wasn't an intensive. It was a 6-month program. We met like every other week. So we
Right.
had time in between, and then there was a lot of accountability as part of it. Like, we had to say how many words we wrote, and like things what was our goal, and then what did we achieve, and things like that. So there was a fair amount of accountability. So I would recommend the book coach if you could afford it. It's not cheap, but I think it's worth it in the end, because I don't think I would have had the book I had without it. But I
Right.
did want to come back a little bit, if we can. And I know we're over almost, we're
Yeah,
over
yeah,
time
no, so
already.
I don't have any no kids in the house.
Well, the other thing I wanted to say
They
is
went to the
that,
library, and then I'm positive that after, because the library closes like at 5:30 or whatever, I'm pretty sure, knowing my kids, they probably went to go get pizza. So
nice, nice. But what I was gonna say is, now that I got my voice out there and I feel like I have a point of view, and I'm an authority on this topic of self-advocacy, and now I'm also like kind of expanding the things that I talk about, and I'm talking a lot about how I see myself as a
right,
woman, who is is building the life that she wants. So I'm kind of reflecting a lot on my life. The book that I wrote was about my career journey, and it started from the very beginning. Now I'm kind of focused on my life now, and like I'm looking back and I'm like, I built the life that I wanted, and now I'm living it. And
right,
I'm pointing to all the things that got me there. And, obviously there were a lot of things that happened to get me to where I am today. And
right,
so I've been writing more essays about like transitions, about being a woman in her 50s, about, the aging process. Like I just wrote something about aging, as a woman. And I talk about like for me, there were parts of it that were hard, like, menopause and,
Mhm.
losing my hair and wrinkles and invisibility. A lot of people, even in corporate, but like in general, people don't see women after a certain age. It's like you're not even there. And I've learned, I've experienced that. But
Sure.
then there's other things that I'm like, but I am free as a bird, y'all. And I do whatever the F I want. And
Right.
I have a tote bag that says yo hago lo que me da la gana. And I'm
I
like,
love that.
I stand in that. Yo
Yeah.
hago lo que me da la gana is real talk.
Yeah.
And, I was like, even like my move to Spain recently is like, why not? Why not do
Right.
that?
Why
Like,
not? Why
I
not?
ain't
Yeah,
got nothing to
yes.
lose, I talk about yo soy soltera sin compromiso, so why not? And,
Right.
so I'm writing more about that because again, that's something that I know. And I also think it's something that a lot of people, they need like another perspective because it's like, oh, get married, have the babies, get a white picket fence, get the dog,
Right.
and it's like check, 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 check. And it's like,
Sure.
what if you don't want that life? What if you want to be
Right,
single?
right.
What if you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
be child free? What if you want to have your own business? What if you want to live anywhere in the world?
Right.
And I feel, that's not for everybody, but like there might be people out there that want it, and there might be
No, and
other
they are. They
people
are.
that
Like,
want it. And
this is an exciting time because we're on the verge of something different. There's a big shift going on in the world right now, you know? And it's great, it's beautiful to see you on the edge of that, the spearhead of that, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun because it's making me really appreciate my life more. You know what I mean? Like it's like, yo, yo sufrí to get to this point. I've been married
Right.
twice, divorced twice, like laid off, twice, like that. Like things have happened that brought me to where I am today.
Right.
But then,
Sure.
as
Sure.
a lot of people say, everything happens for a reason. And sometimes,
Yeah.
God closes a window and opens the door, or closes the door and opens the window. So it's like,
Right.
now, I'm content, and I also
Yes.
can say like, I know when I was in, as an example, when I was in Bolivia living as a missioner, I left a job, a six-figure salary, and I was happier being a missioner in Bolivia than I was in that job. And
Right.
I
I
know for
believe it.
a fact that
Yeah.
money does not buy happiness. Money is
Right.
convenient and money's nice, but money is not everything. You could have a lot of money and you could be very unhappy, and you could have
Right.
very little
No,
money and be
this I
happy.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I feel like the lived experience just gives you, like, wisdom, like, just
Right.
having gone through so many different experiences, I'm like, "Oh, well, yeah, I did that. Been there, done that. I'm good."
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And
I'm excited about
and
sharing
not
that.
to be funny, but also, lived experience. And like, I was talking with one of my classmates yesterday or the day before yesterday, and that I don't believe this to be true, but it helps. It's the same thing like with like, you don't need money to be happy, but it helps, right? But in order to write well, you gotta suffer a little bit.
Yeah, the
You
rejection
know?
is
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
there.
In order to write well, you gotta suffer a little bit. You gotta have something to write about. Like, so it's like you have to, so everything does happen for a reason. Sometimes you'll never find out what that reason is, right? But at the end of the day, you're gonna have a hell of a story to tell.
That's right.
Right?
And I
So
feel like
yeah.
for me, yeah, I'm starting to notice that there, like, all of it together is like, well, this is kind of interesting. Like, I didn't know it as I was living it, that this is where I was headed. But like
Right.
now I'm finally in the place where I could look back and be like, oh shit, look where I am.
Look at
Yeah.
yeah.
So I like that.
And look at what happened while I was going there in that
That's
direction.
right.
Yeah.
Um, and so I wanna ask you a little bit, at least one more question before we go, because I feel it's getting late for me,
Okay,
and
no
I don't
worries.
want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
keep everybody for long. But um, I'm trying to look at my questions that I have for you to see which one I want to ask you because I want to make it a good one. I guess what would you write if you stopped worrying about whether anyone would publish it? Do you think you would write anything different? Because that's been a big thing for you. Like, you're like, "I gotta get
Yes,
this thing
but
published." Like, it's
so I have this fantasy, right? So like I've been doing what I'm not kidding. Like, what I at the gym where I'm at now, I've been there 14 years, close to 15 years, right? And um, I, I my body's breaking down, right? Like how you were talking about,
You're getting old.
yeah, yeah,
You're getting
we're
old.
getting up there, right? And like I have
Yeah.
a very physical job, right? So I'm 47 years old. I'm 47 years old, right? And I see using my body the way that I'm using my body 3, 4, 5 years tops, right? And then I'm gonna be unable to physically do with what I do with my body now, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I want to become a professor, right? I want to go to academia. I want to teach. I want to teach creative writing. I want to teach English,
Amazing.
and I want to write fiction, which I don't do. Like how I said, like
Yeah.
I have trouble writing in the third person, right? Like I think that I'm such an excellent storyteller in the first person because I've had a very interesting life,
Yeah.
I've worn many hats, right? And like I write with my senses. You know, so I think that I can do that. Okay, I can defend myself with that, right? But I also want to do stuff that I haven't done. So I want to teach creative writing, right? So I want to write fiction. I want to write uh English, right? So but in order for me to get to that level, I have to get these first things out of myself, right? So like I probably have. And it was funny because like when I first started my program, I was like, man, I got this one book and I'm one and done, right? But then I noticed like, holy moly, there's no way that I can get all of these things into one book. And then I started breaking them down and I was like, oh my God,
Exactly.
I have at least 4 books in me, you
Yep.
know? I have at least 4 books inside of me. So I think that once I can get these projects out of me and I know for a fact that all I have to do is get one of these projects out, right? And then that one project will open the door to the next, and then those
Yeah.
two will open the door, and then I'm done, and then I'm set. You know,
Yeah, I was gonna say too, maybe you hybrid publish your first book and then you get picked up by somebody for your second book.
I think this is what you know, like how I said, listening to your story in the beginning gave me so much enlightenment and confidence. I'm like, you know what? Oh my God, yeah, Hady's on it, right? So it's like, but like I told you that I was feeling like that prior to our talk and our meeting and watching you, and it's like, you know what? This is not, everything is changing. There's more than one way to skin a cat, you know.
That's right.
So it's happening, it's happening.
I
Yeah,
have one more question for you. Now that
yeah.
you said
Please
you
go.
want to be a professor, which by the way, I think you would be an amazing professor.
Thank you.
What
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
would be
yeah.
dope. But now my question for you is, have you ever do you think you would ever go back into prison to teach people creative writing there? Like have you ever considered that?
I
'Cause
don't.
I know there's
I
programs for
have
that.
considered that. Um, but I'm not gonna lie. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
Prison is not a happy place. And even though like I'm this big bad boxer and an ex-marine and everything like that, like I don't do well in places like that, right? Now I was in solitary confinement and everything and stuff, and I was in a bubble.
Yes. Mhm.
I was protected, not so much by being like in the solitary confinement and everything, but I was so immersed in my world of
Yes.
books and my writing, right? Like I was oblivious to
Estaba en
everything.
otro mundo.
I was
Yeah.
in another world, right? And then and I didn't have to worry about anything, right? Because like I mean, like I wasn't in a hotel or whatever, but I knew that I knew that I have a 23-year-old daughter, right? we're not in good terms right now, right? But that's another story for another day. Um, but I knew that she was with her mother, and I knew that her mother was taking care of her, and and I had my family helping me out and everything. So I literally didn't have a lot of worries. Like I was just literally worrying about my
You were just
books.
surviving,
I was I
getting
was
to the
just
next day.
reading. I mean, it's like you don't have to work, you don't have to you don't have to pay any bills. You like
Yeah.
I was just like, yo, let me just read. Like my biggest problem while I was in prison, and I'm trying to say this without being facetious or like or I don't want to, like, because like prison is a very serious place, right?
Claro que
And
sí.
you know, but like my biggest problem while I was in prison was like not having anything to read,
Yeah,
you know?
I understand.
Yeah, yeah. So it's very weird. There's a Mike Tyson interview running around the internet right now, and I've been having, maybe I'm gonna write about this, right? I've been having a really hard time how to explain this and put this into words. And then I saw this Mike Tyson interview, and I was like, oh my God, thank you, Mike Tyson, right? And he talks about his 3.5 years in prison, right? Being the most peaceful time he's ever had in his life.
Yeah,
Right?
I think that would be a really good essay.
Right.
I know I
Yeah.
wanna read that.
And now, oh my God, now just me talking about that, I'm gonna have to go find this interview and so I can, learn from it and probably write my own thing. But
I love that.
I, like I literally in those 3 years I read, I'm not exaggerating or anything, over 1,000 books.
Yeah, I bet.
Right. I've read over 1,000 books. And I think that reading those 1,000 books in that short span of 3 years, that's my real education.
Yeah,
Or writing
that
all
was
those
real.
letters and stuff like that. That was my real
Yeah.
education.
Yep.
And but now, as a father of three kids, like having to deal with the real world, like, like I work like 90 hours a week, and like and I have to help my wife, and like any minute now my son is gonna bust in through that door and he's like, hey dad, it's time to fight, right? So I'm gonna have to fight with this little motherfucker for like 10 minutes, right? Like, and then my daughter's gonna like, all right, Poppy, we're gonna have
Yeah.
to do this or whatever.
Life
So
on the outside is intense.
yeah, but like, and it's hard for me to write. Like sometimes I go 3, 4 days without writing, right? And then
Yeah.
sometimes it'll be like I'll spend just the whole day just writing. Like, oh my God, I gotta regurgitate all these ideas that I have, right? So prison was peaceful because I didn't have anybody.
Yeah.
I didn't have anybody to talk to. It was just me and that book. Me, and I feel like that I'll never have that time again. That
I
that
understand. I hear
yeah,
you.
that peace. I'll never have that peace. I'll never have that time to read, to write.
Yeah.
Like
That's a very unique experience.
it's a very unique experience. Yeah, very yeah.
Can I say so? When I mentioned the thing about you teaching creative writing or something in the prison, I share that. Or the reason like it occurred to me is when I was in Bolivia, I actually did a speaking intensive in the prison with the
Right,
women that I supported. So I was just doing like a weekly support group, and we would like meet and pray and that kind of vibe. And then I was part of something called Cristoforos. And Cristoforos is just like a speaking intensive. And I did it for
right,
myself because I wanted to kind of immerse myself more in the Spanish language. And I was like the only like non-native speaking person in that course. And it was very hard because everything was in
right.
Spanish, and that's not my first language. So, but I survived and I did it, and
Yeah.
yay!
I'm
So
not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. Like just going back into that. It's the same thing with like writing. Who knows? Maybe I will get the courage and the bravery to go
actually,
back.
it would.
But like I would be so afraid to go back.
Yeah, but let
You
me
know?
tell you.
Yeah.
So it was life changing for those women because the speaking intensive really gave them a voice, and like the assignment. I was one of the instructors for the course that I ended up bringing into the prison. It was like a course, and there were various instructors, and it was like basically they had to give talks on different topics, and it was maybe like an 8-week course, and then they graduated, and
Right.
I think they felt like their voice mattered at the end of that 8-week
Sure.
course, which was
Sure.
amazing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when
Yeah.
they got out of jail, I taught another speaking intensive with the NGO that I was volunteering with, and I would make all those women talk some more, and I would be like, tell me what your dream is, tell me what you want out of life. And they're like, but hermana, I just got out of jail. I'm like, but you got to have a dream, sister. So
It's
figure
true.
it
You
out.
got to have something to
You
chase.
got to have
Yeah.
something
No,
you're looking forward to. So those talks were so emotional. Those were like,
I
oh my
bet.
God. Like my
Yeah.
my aunt came to Bolivia from Puerto Rico, and she sat in one of those courses, and ella lloró the whole time. And she was like, how do you do this? Like, how do you sit here and listen to these people? Like, they're all crying. They're all like this. But it's like, that's healing for them. So that brought me actually a lot of joy,
Sure.
because it was
Sure.
like
Yeah.
they're
Yeah. Yeah.
getting out all that toxic stuff, the judgment, the things that people, the shame, everything that was all would come out in those talks. So it was really healing
Right.
for them.
Yeah.
But I think you going back there to teach, uh, I'm assuming it would be in a men's prison, but I don't know the context. But like, you going back there as someone who spent some time there yourself, I think that would be really life changing for those men.
Yeah,
To go back and do
for
that.
myself included,
Yeah, but you
yes,
too, obviously.
it's important to do, as as an educator, as a writer, as a person, the only way to grow is to challenge yourself and to do
Yeah,
things that you are afraid of doing, right? So it's like,
1000%.
who knows? Yeah. Okay, so listen, but I also don't wanna keep you too much because I forgot it's 11:20 over where you're at,
It
right?
is 11:20 for me. But I told
Yeah.
you, I didn't drink coffee or tea or anything, but
Yeah.
I'm an
All right.
extrovert. So I
But
knew we
yeah,
would
no,
got
check this out,
talking.
man. Listen, it's the same way like how this interview, like, how you're getting ready to do your second book, right? And how I got, maybe we'll get on live again in a couple of months or whatever, like in the summertime, no doubt. We'll continue from there.
Yeah.
But Hadi, tell me, and tell the people that's watching, right? And I will find it later, right? I'll text you. Where can people get your book? Your
Yeah,
books.
my book is available wherever books are sold. So like
Right.
bookshop.org and Barnes and Noble and
Amazing.
Amazon if you want it. It's available in like ebook, paperback, hardcover, and in audiobook. And I narrated the audiobook myself. So
Oh,
you don't
congrats.
mind listening to
Yes.
my voice?
So
I narrated it
can
myself.
they listen to your book like on Spotify?
I don't think it's on Spotify. It might
Oh,
be
okay,
free on
okay.
Audible right now.
Audible, got you. Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, so check it out. Support a sister. I think it's a fun book. It's definitely a quick read. And if you do read it and you like it, leave me a review. If you read
Right.
it and
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
like it, then keep your opinion to yourself. But I think you like it. I think you like it.
Yeah, no, no, I can't wait. I'm gonna get on it. Yeah. Oh my God. All right. So let's call it not quits, but let's call it to be continued
This, yeah.
for another time. Yeah.
I
Heidi,
can't
this
wait to
is
hear I can't wait
yeah.
to hear more updates from your end, but know that I love your writing. Know that you have a lot of fans
Thank
out
you. No,
here.
no, no. Same, same. I love your energy.
Yeah,
Just everything, man. Like, and you motivate me. And like you said, by you know, like we said, right? Like by self advocating for yourself strongly and beautifully, right? You're self advocating for others. So like every time that
yeah,
I see you standing up there speaking, writing, every time that I read one of your articles, you're like, yo, she's writing for me, man. Thank
that's
you.
right.
So
Yep, I'm
so
writing
thank
for a
you
lot of
so
us.
much. Yeah, thank you all the way from New York City, man. Thank you. And que Dios te bendiga.
Thank you,
And we'll do this again, okay?
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining today.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, bye,
Peace.
Miguel.
Later.
Cuídate.
Same.